So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all outliers. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion Elrod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all outliers. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion Elrod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all outliers. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the Debrat, the very first champion off-brand champion Mayday, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, two-time Best in Show and two-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion Elrod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat and let's talk dogs.
The dog game is dying. Let's talk about the game first, not the dogs. It's the challenge of the wins, the competitive addiction, the thrill of the win, and the rewards of achievements. Losing only gives you the drive to come back. I learned to watch the winners, my motivation was there, my dedication was evident, now I'm a winner. The problem is the cheating to win, manipulating the truth, and then it's the all outliers. How is this sharing our achievements with liars, cheaters, and bullshitters? We have lost the historical value of the dog game. We can't decipher the real from the fake, the lost is the cost. So I salute these dogs of going hard kennels for all that you've given me in the game.
Let's talk about pit bulls. The history, the breeding, the maintaining and feeding, and the controversies surrounding the great hunts. Come interact with the legends, and ask questions, and listen to their stories as we talk about kennels and dogs of the past and present. Hosted by one of the game's most respected kennels, with over 40 years in the hunt, going hard kennels Twin 1 and Twin 2, dogs like Champion the DeBrat, the very first champion off Grand Champion May Day, the Dog of the Year, and Register of Merit. Champion Pretty Mama, 2-time Best in Show, and 2-time Gamest in Show. Going Hard's Bay Bay, Register of Merit, Damn to Champion What a Day, Champion Gus, Champion Elrod, Champion Yellowbird. So pull up a seat, and let's talk dogs.
How you get that, man? There you go. What up? What up? Damn. Man, oh man, oh man. What up, everybody? Hey, man. As usual, I don't know what time it is. It's Hot Mic Friday. Yes, sir. Boy, has it been a hot mic. Give my big shout outs to everybody right quick. Oh my gosh. I'm so glad y'all can't see me right now. Big shout out to all my people out there. CTK, Constant Trauma Kennels. Whoa, man, listen to them names now. Blood Thirst, a.k.a. the one and only Harrington the House. What up, fam? Let's see here. Let me see who else we got going here. Let's see here. Yeah. Big shout out to my main man, Mr. John Debry in the house. What up, fam? Okay, let's see what's going on here. Can y'all hear me? Can y'all hear me now? Yeah. Gotta be able to hear myself. Let me see here. Don't do that, Mike. Don't do that. Don't do that. Let me see. This on here. Hoping this helps my situation. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Where everybody at? Come and see. What's the hot topic for tonight? Big shout out to my man Double and Despo. What up, fam? Man, you know how these topics go. You know, they be like on the fly. You know, I'm telling you, this is one of them that we is actually on the fly. Hey, but that's good though, because your better content come from when you're on the fly, because it ain't nothing pre-planned, so you ain't got no reason to sit there and give your time to sit there and make up some damn lies. That's how I be looking at it. You know what I'm saying? We're gonna roll out like that. We're gonna get this party started just like that. Ain't no need of faking in your front. Big shout out to my man RBG Lone Wolf in the house. What up, fam? Used to get him. Let's see what we got going here. I know y'all can't see me. For once, I used to be like tripping out because I always spend a lot of time trying to get that part of this situation right. Yeah, what's up, my man? Vito Richard. I see you, fam. Big shout out to my main man, Skip Bell in the house. What up, fam? You know, and tonight, let me start this night off by giving a big shout out to my people out there in the Shark Tank. Big shout out to all my people out there on the back street. When I'm talking about the back street, y'all know I'm talking about that back street. The ones with the night visions on, the ones that be all across the world, loving what they doing, showing the love for the American pit bull terrier, because I don't care what they say, I don't give a damn how far across the world you're going to have these dogs. But let me explain this something to you. You can't forget the fact that it shall and always will be, when you talk about the type of dog I'm talking about, an American pit bull terrier. Yeah. Big shout out to all my people out there feeling like I'm feeling about it. And that's for real. Now, some of us, you get to talk about these dogs and you go to feeling yourself. Sometimes I think when people will be sitting back and they be in this community and then they see people, who be like feeling themselves, they go to hating. Yeah. Look, this is not something that just happened in 2025. Hating been going on for a long time. But I'm old school. You know what I mean? I don't know if some of y'all not remember, but in the music game, he had a quick blast, and it was MC Breed. For all my people out there who familiar with that MC Breed, that's the young man I started in the beginning of his career. He was starting out just one of them upcoming rappers, and I had me some upcoming rappers, and he came out with this song called Ain't no future in your front. And that song blew up. Now, yeah, he was somewhat of a one-hit wonder, but then, he had some run on him because, we had a little bit of run because we was the ones who were actually throwing the shows. So we was kind of on that traveling thing. Breed, I had a chance to do that with Too Short, Ice Cube, the whole Lynch Mob. I already told y'all about that E40 thing, but he had this song, and back then this song used to be like, it brought reality to to what life was at that point in time. That you ain't no future in your front, and came from, we done just changed it around a little bit, because it's almost like I can say, ain't no future in your capping. Ain't no future in your hating. Because when you get into these bulldogs, man, one thing that you're going to realize that I've, based on what I've experienced over life is, and sometimes it's funny, but you ever, to me, Snoop Dogg looked like them Doberman Pinschers, when they had him transformed. He looked like he would have been a Doberman Pinscher. You see some people who you start saying they starting to look like they dog. Not they dog starting to look like them. Dog gonna already be what it is, but the fact that people be so in that you start associating their look to their dog. The relationship that you didn't know when it comes down to when we start talking about the dogs, I'm always one of them that took it, if you ain't no future in your front, if you don't have no problem, looking at the next man and the next man's dog with some type of, compliment, a compliment. Sometimes people in this dog game, well, the majority of the time, because I think that's what made the game, a man would, they would look at your dog, and they might, have their little slide comment, and then from that point on, them kind of things are not like you hurting my feelings. When you talk like that, that's almost like, we're going to see each other. Yeah. I mean, but then depending on the conversation and what you talk about, if you walk on a man's yard and disrespect the man's yard, then, you better be man enough to come back with something and try to clear out that man's yard. Because if that was that man and you make me feel like that, I would be at your yard type of situation. You would totally get tired of seeing me, because my goal is to take my yard and go clean out somebody else's yard. Because the bulldog game was something that was created way back then, and you don't think Tudor and them was raising them dogs and going straight to the box with them without looking at them, without schooling them? Remember, we have to take all this into our conversations when we're talking about the American Pit Bull Terrier. And I'm talking about a real one. The ones that made you want to pick up the paper, the ones that we talk about throughout history. For us to process, when you understand it, see, nowadays, nobody wants to talk about, the things that made certain people and certain dogs great, because society has gave it a bad name type of situation. Like they look at us like, we're cruel. We're just totally cruel. But I can understand that. So I can outside, actually block that, because them people don't really understand how much these men love their dogs. You got to remember, if anybody knew a little bit of the story about Tudor and Gangster Maurice Carver, and even Snake Man, some of these guys out here that we talk about in this bulldog game is no different than the average brother that was coming up out of New York and things get tight. You know what I mean? Hey, he loved them dogs so much because they were always there to save him. See, Tudor, I think, was the Oklahoma man. And I told y'all, I knew a man. And I got his book for you. So at any time that anybody want to say dog twin captain, remember, I don't never say nothing unless I have receipts. I had one of the very first executives at Purina, when they, back in the day, Purina wasn't known for dog food. Purina was actually known for, livestock feed. And this guy here, he was one of, and I have his book, but it basically says in that time period out there in that Oklahoma area, and he's one of them country cowboys because he became a very prominent man in that fourth tier from Purina. He even, in his book, he even states what those checkered squares meant for Purina at the time. Very interesting story, but it puts you in the mind frame of when the Depression had hit. This game consisted of a lot of people who depended on them dogs, and I'm not talking about depending on them for food. Chop up and do I think it's the Chinese thing. No, these people cherished these dogs and became competitive because at some times, y'all, that dog had to save them. It had to save them. That's why when you look at Tudor and Lightning and Kobe and just look at some of the pictures, do them look like the only one that you would think to look like was starting, but then you just start reading the story and then think about Pit Bull Terrier. Look at Earl Tudor. He would look like somebody out of Oklahoma. I think it was Lightner and Kobe. I had some old pictures. I seen them there with the guns. They got the guns like they wild western and stuff on. You know what I'm saying? You see them sometimes wearing them shirt and ties with the big top hats. Did it look like the man was hurting? But if you read their stories, you would see and understand why the bulldog game became so basically where public didn't care at one time until that moment when the public perception had to have changed. The public perception had to have changed, you guys, if you pay attention closely to it. It happened almost around Prohibition. Now, if the game, you know, we all know the history, and I'm not here to give you a history lesson, but I'm here to tell you about when I'm talking about anybody other past, and sometimes you only really see us talk about the ones that are worthy of being talked about. You know, y'all hear different stories from different people, and everybody got a different story about something. But see, back in when I was growing up as that young kid, and we was taking on these American Pit Bull Terriers for the very first time as a Marine, I had my certain way of thinking about what I had just seen. Like for me, the first time. This wasn't the German Shepherd on big old boy over here when I grew up, and the damn partner was older brother was a bad boy because he had a champion, and then back then we didn't really understand what the champion was because we were just a kid, but we knew that dog wasn't nothing to be messing with. No, but how important it was to think about the time that when this shit went from legal to heading toward illegal. But the love of the dog had already been created decades ago. Decades ago. We know it was just a handful when they was coming off that boat and coming from other places. And what some of y'all really don't understand and have to really understand what I'm fixing to say is the American Pit Bull Terrier was probably here before that boat came by. They just was bringing their perception of what was already here and making it that ultimate warrior. See, the key was at a time to have the ultimate bulldog. You know, like they got, you know, dog, they got horses where there was a community, big community. It wasn't about a bunch of money. They used to have these special trinkets, like it could be a belt buckle or some kind of brooch that somebody had, you know, a bartering thing. You know, that's where, you know, all you got to do is just barter something. You know, I wouldn't care what it is. Just make sure you bring your dog. That right there was so common in a day when it was just changing from accepted to unaccepted. The unaccepted actually became the issue simply because you try to take advantage of a time in America where gangster situations just ain't good for certain situations. And if you kind of just read through what I'm saying, you have to understand the real people that we're talking about in the early days of where we can talk about Tudors, Lightners, Hanzo, Bounce, you know what I mean? The list goes on. But have you ever picked up a book instead of listening to people tell you stories? There's places out there that they telling their own story. And that's the beauty in it, because sometimes if you look, you can find videos, and you check out Schoolboy and Fat Bill that has these interviews. These old men are talking about their time like we sit here and talk to you about our time. You can go read that shit in a book. There's so much information about those men. But again, it's because of those men that we went from accepted to unaccepted. And because of that mentality, the Bulldog game took a different view and they never got back. So then think about it. As the generations changed, I was around when they had a little committee, you know, to don't sell brothers' dogs. Yeah. Listen to what I just said. And I ain't rocking no boats. I'm gonna just tell you, this is the way it was. You had the little thing going on, and nobody wanted to see, don't sell them dogs. Can I truly say it could be? Is it about the color of the skin? Look, I'm from up north. Where did I tell you that I was a Marine in where? The South. North Carolina. Back in 1979, I've been South Carolina, Paris Island. You go to places that you've never been before, and you start noticing people down south don't live like people up north. Now, I'm only speaking about the Bulldog game and through reality. Okay, understand? The whole time I'm taking you on this run, I'm taking my Bulldog with me. Because imagine me, Mo, and a sheriff from up north, 3 people could walk on these men's yards and walk away with dogs. It wasn't like I'm bragging about it, but it's almost like I look at my North Carolina family, my peeps down through there, and we coming back with these monster dogs, and they got their little version of what they call their dogs. And then where y'all get them dogs from? You then realize where you're getting them dogs from. So we're going to check the dogs. And then all of a sudden, the boys upset because we just blew through their yard with these 4 dogs. Oh, we're not going to get no pub beating up on them. Now, keeping this in mind, fellas, this is how good these people's dogs was for us. And we tell you, coming right off the gate, we didn't have no idea about the things that an American Pit Bull Terrier went. And I told you about, they gave us the dogs, but they really never gave us information, but they were always putting us in situations like with Cheryl Powell, because we still all from up north. And you have to understand, we're dealing with people who really had those, a certain way about how they feel about certain people. And I used to think it was because, the people in the area, then, how you living in a certain area and people way from the west side coming in and they, make the whole area look bad and you ain't even from over here. Take your ass back across the track type of situation. But then when you got down and looked at it for real, because of the sheriff and us, they looked at us a different type of way. Like we were supposed to be, y'all think because y'all hanging over there with them, getting dogs from them and everything, that y'all better than us. Oh my God, I could not believe we went down that direction. But let me explain something to you. I know why we talk about Earl Tudor, Atlas Brewer, Mr. Stevenson. Man, I can go on with them names in North Carolina and the Harry Hargroves and the Fat Bills. When you know that a lot of what they did, they was doing amongst themselves. Remember the champion Thor that we beat, and I think it was the Robinson's champion Thor, Jacksonville, North Carolina. Never forget when Bruiser went through there and did what he did. And then, how we get a dog like that? Everybody want to know, well, y'all want to come up in here? Who gave that dog? we basically with your about, and he's like, that shouldn't matter. Like, I'm with the sheriff. Like, they're more concerned about what just happened. And we dealing with a stolen dog or something, man. This shit was for real, for real. But when I think about now the journal and seeing the things that I see right now, I kind of be like, I know, knowing what I know now, I don't never think they reported that. I really believe if we had a loss, I think they would have reported that because they were those type of people. How do I know those type of people? Because of the way they acted when they got beat. The way they acted when they got beat. So that kind of, you don't forget them type of moments. You remember Mr. Robinson. Remember my experience with him. I remember my experience with Mr. Triplett. I remember my experience Steven Stevenson's Big Ben. I remember my experience with meeting all the guys that's down there. But I never forget about the people of my color that lives in these places would look at us and still think, look at us because what we're doing is make them feel like we think we're better than them. But in the true reality of it, fellas, why we talk about the Earl Tudors and the people like that, them people really knew what they was doing. They understanding the degree that and experience that they learned over the years doing what they have doing. And most of the ones we talked about, they had decades and decades of this shit. And some of them still talking, we still talking about doing what they did. But look at the perception when you have to go back and your opponent looking at you like, I think I'm better than you. And then you go and you show them that based on these dogs right here that we using, I think they're better. They are better than you. And when it's all said and done and history puts its stamp on that shit, regardless of what you like, and you might keep on hating. Maybe that makes you hate even more. That you'll come and you will just get your behind smashed and actually let us come back to the point, okay, when you're schooling dogs for us back then, where do you think we got that from? Where do you think that thing came from? Now, kind of got to remember who I'm actually rolling with. This is why we're able to get around. But we were able to learn the simplicity of, Cheryl Powell, why don't nobody mess with you? I'm sitting over here, you dealing with both sides. This is where we got that Hetrick TNT. Mo talks so highly about them Hetrick TNT dogs because he, that's what he was about. Cheryl Powell was about that life. You can imagine how many people that Cheryl Powell had to have beat up with that yard for them dogs. And trust me, you're going to find Cheryl Powell in Tornado's papers. Can't hate on that. When we talk about this man, just remember, this man is in Tornado's papers. Brother, sister breed, that's him. I knew why they did not want to mess with Cheryl Powell. They said out their mouth on both sides. Ain't nobody ready to run over there with Cheryl Powell and them dogs over there. You know what I'm saying? Wasn't nobody afraid of that, man. But they was. But I guess when you're the sheriff and you know everybody, and you had them kind of dogs, is why he was able to do the things that he was doing. But look at all the things that we learned as we grew and the experiences that we have and the people that we have met. And we're telling y'all, not like we Don Mayfield or Tudor. We're sharing something that if you read on these people, not much has changed. the quality of the dog was always going to be in the hands of the dog man, regardless of what color he was. I mean, we still have presidential barriers to this day, but one thing the dog game did, it made you become something other than your color. It made you a part of a fraternity that where not too many people have what we're doing in common, but amongst this community, you know, everybody want to hold their position as where you going to stand at when you're talking about this community, because it takes a certain type of person to be in this type of community. Now, that's what I just said. It really does take a certain type of person to be in this community. That right there is one of the most important things that I ever seen when I came to actually looking at why they look at Cheryl Powell the way they look, why I looked at James Edwards, as many conversations that we was having with him and how he felt about certain things. And then right across, you know, about a couple, you know, miles up the road, you got Atlas Brewer. And he was the first one I ever seen that had a dog he was putting in shape. He the one had Snooty. I mean, I'm thinking, look at it now. This man had a tomb, you know, little grave tomb thing, talk about Snooty. Kennels Woods, Snooty, but you know, it never got into the underworld. He went from Kennels Woods, and then he got to you. But you know, Kennels, you know, he was doing this thing. Yeah, he had 2 losses, but think about it, y'all. Listen, I'm sitting here talking to the man that look who Snooty lost to. You know, was that such a big deal that day when I was learning that, you know, hearing it from out the man's mouth? No, hell no. But what did history show me later? Tell you what history showed me later. That same gravestone I told you, I went to Tom Garner's house on Bulldog Hill, right there at the gate before you walk in. There's that same tombstone sitting right at the entrance of Bulldog Hill. Remember, we told you we seen that tombstone 3 times. The first time was with Atlas Brewer. The second time was with Tony Wade. And the third time I seen it in my lifetime was sitting outside of Tom Garner's, you know, the gate, the entrance to Bulldog Hill. Now, I don't take nothing away, you know, from no dog man in this community. But what we try to preach and try to get across to these real dog men, real dog men, you know, when they had to use these dogs to survive, to eat. This was a sport to some of them. This was a passion, like people raising horses and cows. Well, they had their cocks and they damn bulldogs. That was a means of entertainment. Some of it was a means of survival. And then, you know, anytime there's money and means of survival, you're going to have the crooked people, you know, the Maurice Carvers, regardless of what the people say, how they want to say it. The man was he was a mafioso, to put it out there. It was nothing. I think Maurice had caught a murder charge. But look, I think Wally, you know, they used to walk around in Texas with their pistols and everything on, you know, and when you're not new to the game. For us, this is way before our time, but as I was learning history, because that's what if we preach anything, we always tell y'all, man, stop listening to what other people say. Sometimes it pays to pick up a book, and with all the information out here on the internet, you can find some of these stories. But where does the past supposed to help you as a person when you're dealing with these type of dogs? Because I can tell you that if you go and check and see what everybody did, the ones that's worthy of us even saying their names after all this time, are you in this game to be one of them? Because if you're not, why are you in this game? Why are you in this fraternity? You know, that's my thing when they start talking about the hating part. It always there. That's what led to the competition. I mean, this game right here, the fraternity is like, you know, a bunch of brothers that just, you know, when I say brothers, when you become a part of a fraternity, them are your brothers. I'm in the United States Marine Corps fraternity for life. They're my brothers. You know, we might run across each other, but we're going to respect each other because, you know, we know what each other know, that we know that, you know, we're either going to settle this or, you know, somebody's not going to make it home. Because first of all, you know, in this fraternity, when you're dealing with that like that, it's mano y mano. You better be putting yourself in a real good position and understand that, because it's like letting two bulldogs go. You know, if it comes to that, he knows just as much as you know, but who's better at it? That bulldog fraternity, when it came down to these people that we could associate ourselves because of what we just been through, as far as the Marines, seeing an American Pit Bull Terrier, I mean, a bulldog, a real bulldog, from these type of people to get out here to do the things that we did. But listen, you have to be very understanding of the responsibility that when we start talking about checking your yard, because see, I can bring you all the way up through history, and that's when we talk about the M&Ms, you know what I'm saying? The Harold Masons and our boys up in PA. You know why I talk about all of them? Because I had to go transition from what I was doing in North Carolina to the transition to what I was doing, you know, what I came out of North Carolina doing to Ohio, the transition to wind up finding myself, take a look at the whole community of the American Pit Bull Terrier and the people who had that same passion and love for the dogs. Yeah, you had your raggedy people with them, you know, when I say them raggedy ones, you know, I hear people, you know, cracking about, I think it was Jerry Hammond. It was, you know, something I seen on PBK that Don April said, and I think he was talking about Hammonds, you know what I mean? But the funny thing about it was, you know, when you said the dude, he had 100 dogs, you know, 10, 15 years of these dogs out here, and you could smell his yard from a mile away. And I joke about it, you know, when I heard it today, you know, another good show, PBK. You know, I mean, I laugh because as much as he is debatable, it is so much that when you experience what his experience was in the game, he represents his dogs like the average, I would think the average dog man does. That's why I'll be on that, you know. This is a new world for me, because I'm going to show you, based on history, we was checking our yards, bro. You listen here, that's what I'm here to talk about tonight. The yard means everything. Y'all be playing. Y'all that damn talking, and I got this and I got that. But I come from an era that was just like that era before my era. Can't tell me that we got it from somebody, and I'm trying to tell you where I got it. Remember, I'm telling you, the snooty headstone was meant for me to find that damn headstone that's showing up throughout all these years. Remember, I was just at Tom's house no more than 2-3 years ago when I seen it again. Got pictures with it right there at the gate. The thing is, I laugh because we were them diehards like they were them diehards. So when we talk about dogs, and I talk about people who have these dogs and have yards full of these dogs, remember, the only ones we really talk about is the ones who were successful at what they did. Yeah, they might have been snakes and all, you know, dirty type of guys, but there's some reason why we still have to talk about them and not everybody else. I'm going to tell you about them. the one we be talking about. Because they had that yard when it comes down to talking about over here in this community. You know, a prime example of that for me is Rosterman and Mr. Richard Garcia. I'm going to tell you why. When I was on my little journey, me and Mo, you know, coming through the, you know, starting out with the Richard Stratton book, I mean, I take my hat off to Mo. And for those who know, I know I got GHK Mo on the screen. I didn't put my name in there because, you know how this shit get. Didn't have time. I was rushing. But Mo, I'm setting the same for Mo because in order to understand what Mo Fitness say, I want y'all to know before the hating even start. Because we know how people feel when it comes to talk about their yard. But I'm explaining something to you. If it don't be for the yard, you would be hating anyway. If it don't be for the yard, you wouldn't be hating anyway because you wouldn't be over here. But the reason you're over here, it's not because you can beat anything on his yard. That's why you hating, you know. But think about the man who already knew that. I'm trying to give y'all a, you know, from our standpoint, being in the area, when it came to having to go smash other people's dogs simply because of you thought we was better than you because we was hanging with them. With y'all mad because they're not selling y'all no dogs. I wonder what y'all did to them for them not to get y'all no dogs. I mean, just wondering. But if you feel that way, well, we're going to just see if these dogs are giving us. We're just going to go over here and just see just how big, you know, what you got. You know, like Mo said, Big Buster D. There's a couple of them. Them dogs, Blood, BA, Solo, Bruiser. That introduction into this game, if we didn't learn nothing, we know what a badass bulldog's supposed to look like. If it's going to make y'all act like this, we ain't going to have no problem beating up and cleaning out yards. See, that part right there with Mo, y'all ever watch how Mo getting, when he be emotional, when he go to talking about that like that, you know, like a dude just on crave, like he know he's addicted. He gets all happy. You see the glow in his eyes, and or you should be able to hear the passion. Because one thing that he understood, Mike, we need to have some shit like those dogs. These are ultimate warriors. This is that situation in Carolina. It didn't mean nothing when you blew everybody out in the neighborhood. You know, that, you know, y'all a little upset. We understand. Oh, now you're mad because we beat up your shit. Okay. But what you need to be doing is getting on this bandwagon because it ain't y'all we really going after. See, it's the ones when they got mad between the Kimseys and the James Edwards and the Atlas Brewers, and ain't nobody was supposed to be selling dogs. But I don't know who broke the treaty to them, but whoever broke the treaty had to have a reason to break the treaty, and I think it had to do with money. You know, if I have the opportunity, and for us, I seen this happen. Because remember, they was giving us dogs. But after what we was doing, this is where I seen that area, Jacksonville, Kinston, Raleigh, Durham, Winston-Salem, you know, that area, we moved around in when it came to these dogs. Them dogs had created enough attention that what used to be $300 dogs to like James and them, how they used to peddle puppies, look in the journal. Grab some of the old journals and look what they were selling puppies for. And then look in the journal and watch how the pricing of the puppies start changing. See, what you're not really paying attention to is who are the people buying the dogs. I know these people right here that's selling the dogs. You're gonna know when you just open the journal, read it. You're gonna know the person that's selling the dogs, but then you're gonna also see what was going on when I'm talking about, because there was a time period that it went from this to whoever broke the treaty to now we're selling dogs for more. And now they're over here trying to outclass each other because, well, he was selling his stuff for 500. He went from 200 to 500. He's doubling up. Well, that regular shit he got over there, damn, I'm going to be selling mine for 800. And then talk shit on him. But guess what? Everybody over there was happy because they could at least get a chance to go buy a damn dog. Possibly a good dog. Now, I'm taking you down memory lane because I want you to understand, when you start talking about a yard and you build a yard, it's just gonna be a matter of what are you really trying to build on the yard. Because in order to build a successful yard in the American Pit Bull Terrier game, it ain't about how well you speak. It's about how well your dogs perform their duty. These other men that we do still talk about to this day have performed and survived their duty based on what they were able to produce, perform, and hold it down to be recognized for years in this American Pit Bull Terrier dog game. But the only thing we can talk about right now, y'all, this, Buffalo Soldier. Look how you see Buffalo Soldier. He was like a grain of pepper and a sea of salt. But we can still talk about him today. Rosterman. Again, and we said, you probably heard it before, in case you didn't know, he was the first black man I read about in a book. And I think it was the Richard Stratton book. I know it was one of them. But look at it. Wouldn't have never known who the man was. And he was right down there in North Carolina where we was. We didn't know about all of them until we went through Ohio and got into the midst of the lane and came back. And being they were already mobile, how you gonna not be running into each other? Or you not knowing that, how you gonna know Rossman and don't know Twin? We never met, but when you know the same people, and then as time passed, you look back on it and you just laugh because, I was there today. Then McNasty and Mr. T and everybody show up, and Rosterman was there that day. He didn't know who he was, but we knew who Rosterman was, because what was the reason we was really down there? Tornado? I think it was Lady Stone. Yeah, fellas, we were right there to see it. We were right there, like it's going to go down. That's Rosterman from the book. All the people knowing, those moments when shit just hit the fan, but it all comes back around because it was Rosterman in 7-8 and Mr. Garcia. And I'm going to tell you why I feel about Mr. Garcia, because even though I was not on the West Coast, and he was very well known, it's Mr. Garcia, that schoolboy. Do your research, check him out. He had some clout, because if you can maintain, and I always felt like this, fellas, that people talk shit on that West Coast. You think we got better dogs than people out there west. Okay, y'all think that. But you got to remember now, Mr. Garcia knew VBK. In one of his books, he talks about VBK. That's the Farrell brothers. Mr. Garcia, I can imagine when me and Mo start doing this show, first of all, the whole twin thing. Then I knew it was going to be about our attitude. then it was going to be about our knowledge. So he was always, he's one of them. And you sit back and look at shows, and like you heard him on here and say for himself, he realized, yeah, they know some shit. I wonder what. And Mr. Garcia know a lot of people. And when he can reach out to people like T.L. Williams and then talk about a VBK, then you can understand why I have so much respect for him, because he actually came back and told me about the other people out there and said, hey, I didn't know that, which one of the Railroad Brothers had came all the way from California and came and got one of y'all dogs. Yeah, he was on the yard. That ain't bragging, but because to me, that ain't bragging. That's just look at the people I'm still around. But then why did we talk about him? If it don't be for his yard, would we be talking about Schoolboy? If it don't be, for Rasta Man and as his color, first and foremost. And if you know and listen to how he talk, that's North Carolina all day. And he's just a good, funny, but he's in our fraternity, man, a brotherhood. And it's funny because you remember that Fat Bill and Bakari, they really were together hanging out there. Them. Sometimes I think, being around them is what got, Fat Bill in the situation he was in, because, this lane over here ain't like that lane you playing with over there. They ain't just bragging, but I'm just telling you, he never Barbadero back through there. Over there. I'm just being real with it. You don't bring that shit back over this way, because, them line, that's some hand shot. I'm telling but for me not to know Fat Bill like that during that time period, but we know the people who beat him. It wasn't a brag thing. It's just, why don't nobody like Fat Bill? But that's, that's that fraternity. And you got to understand why people feel about certain people, but always believe that, is it really because of the dogs? Because when you really think about it, when it actually got down to the dogs generally settled a lot of problems, but in the same token, based on who the person was, create a lot of problems. I've had people down through this history who have lost their lives over this thing called the American Pit Bull Terrier. Now, I can't sit here and tell you guys that I can explain why a man will be dying over a bulldog, but it has happened. And trust and believe, if it don't be about the damn dog, that person, will still be here. Because that's just how serious, not just this American Pit Bull Terrier fraternity is, and has always been, because it's always still about business, but the responsibility of just having the dogs on your yard, and the importance of how much you got into this, your yard and what you feeding should matter. It should matter so much that you should trying to understand all these talk shows, and people do a lot of talking. But one thing people can't do, they can't go and tell you how to go out there and buy that dog food and come bring it back and tell you how to get out there and shovel up that shit. And then that's just what you're doing to maintain the damn dog. But then let me find out what kind of dog is you doing all this for. And I'm trying to look, man, I don't brag on what me and my brother do. And I think he used to tell you how he used to do it. He would put the best on the yard. And you know how that process worked. When them dogs step off the yard, and I'm not talking about off the yard straight to the box. No. I'm talking about just hanging out with the fraternity. And there was a time that we used to make that a habit, and you check your yard. Everybody was looking for a role. Everybody was looking for a good schooling. Everybody was, you know, these dogs wasn't doing nothing unless they was being checked. You know, but I can only speak from what we were learning, because I'm just letting y'all know we didn't create that based on, oh, we had a great idea. No, there's people like Harry and I don't know how many Atlas had, but I know he had a lot of them. But then these people had some pretty big yards, man. Pretty big yards. And it's easy to sit there and say, we ain't got nowhere near them kind of dogs. So you gotta believe why the hell he got 100 dogs. But if you were standing there on the yard and understood that person and his yard, you would be, it's possibly 100 dogs, 10 of them must be over there bruised stock, maybe 10, 15. But as I'm looking down the rows, I know why y'all be busy every weekend. You know what I mean? Hey, that 100 dogs gonna have a purpose, and it is so crazy because to see how big we got to 80 dogs, because we were having, Mo was doing a breeding program, him and KP, and the only way we're gonna tell if anything was gonna work, I remember it completely because we left Ohio and we got here to Florida, and then we made a yard. I mean, we made a yard, and every dog on that yard, if y'all had first of all, for me, I think people, you know, y'all misconceive are talking about our dogs like, but no, if I'm going to explain to you how these people was, and we did what they did, I know what it felt like to go out on the yard and see 80 dogs. Every dog on the yard, they all look alike. You know, they all look alike. That was fantastic to know that part, because, you know, we got somewhere to put 80 dogs and raise them up to, you know, for us, it was 15, 16, you was getting looked at, you know, everything between there, you be in school, work with, play with, giving yourself a chance, working it out. Well, this is how we, you know, dealt with a yard. Mo had the 4-wheeler go down. We had water ran down through there, but this is not the first time we've seen yards like this. The only difference is this is our yard. Do y'all know how important that moment meant in this fraternity to be able to finally have a yard and good bred dogs on it? It wasn't no Mikeys, stolen. Wasn't no judo, stolen. Wasn't no bruiser, stolen. You don't hear me say nothing about blood and solo, because you know, people who don't know, yeah, them dogs from North Carolina came through Ohio, and that's when you know they start the twins. We hadn't even come up no going hard shit. Twins, everybody always known us for having dogs. Twins, they done come back through here with bulldogs, man. Yeah. See, they be from that to that moment that you walking out on your yard like you walked out on other people's yards, and you understand when them people look out over their yard, what they was feeding. They just wasn't out there to be having them out there, fellas. Not the people I knew, because the people that I'm sweet, most sister and talks about, you know, these people long gone, some of them been dead, but some of them we can't help but speak their name because they are a part of the American Pit Bull Terrier history. It's worthy to talk about. But the fact is, we know when you see that and you talk to them, that what your opportunity looked like when we were standing out on that yard. All them dogs had their own orange mango tree, shaded, water down through there, you know, fresh water. He had the big old 1,000-gallon water tank out there. and looking at all them dogs, and we be sitting back laughing because when we came to North Carolina, we only came to Florida. We only really had actually 4 dogs. The first 2 dogs got here was Rottweiler and Bo, the German Shepherd. So when Mo went back to Ohio to pick up, them breedings already. See, him and KP, they had already started the whole breeding program to where all we got to do now is do more breeding here, and then you sit back and just watch the yard grow. The yard actually did go from like 4 dogs to 8 dogs, and and that too big for that property. So we move on to another one. Now we're up to 20 dogs. You still got him and KP, and they shipping dogs out and shipping dogs in, putting them on other people's yard and other places. Then all of a sudden they come back around, do more breeding, and then now we need the yard. And we finally get the yard, had the stakes in the ground, had the dog houses on there, and sit out there, and you see all that sitting out there. And then you ask yourself, now, are these dogs going to be actually worth this? Yeah, with all the confidence in the world, simply because why would we do all this and be dealing with bullshit? We didn't wait till we got to the yard to realize what the hell we had. That's why we wasn't even thinking about getting rid of nothing what we had, because we don't need a yard, because somebody is going to have they shit wrecked because they don't see this coming, Mo. They don't see this coming. And you don't just come into damn it, Florida, talk about you got something. Well, guess what? Fraternity came and welcomed us in open arms. But it wasn't easy because they was no different than them people up there in North Carolina. And you know how I said they was. Y'all think, well, by the time we done, hold on. Everybody calm down. Because by the time we done, and y'all get a chance to know who we are, and I'm talking about we know who we are, because that's we scratching the wind. I know you don't run this. We here. We at the scale. We scratching the wind. You disagree? Okay, that's okay. Well, the thing is, referee pull out that quarter, and we gonna flip for it. Well, I ain't gonna flip. The referee let him know, being we already at the scale, he gonna forfeit, right? Because I don't run shit. He ain't running shit. You run shit. I'm saying I'm scratching the wind. He talking about he ain't. We flip before, right? That's how that go. You right to him. You right to him. All right, let's get the flipper. And I always used to bust him in the head with tails. This is me. Because remember, I told you I handle everything up until Mo getting in there and that other person crossing the wall. He don't worry about none of that. He over there talking to him with everything he got between his legs. He over there talking with him, giving them the little, rubs and, showing that affection, and then you see him just slowly turning them into these baby hawks because he knows what to say. He knows, like, if they hear that dog barking or something out there like they do, yeah, boy, you know what time it is. You know what time it is. Yeah. Mo don't have, that's what Mo do. I'm the one to be like, you can't tell me shit. Because we scratch the wind. For people who talk about and they don't understand what that means, let me explain something to you. Throw all the other bullshit out the door. Just imagine, ain't no curs gonna walk out of here. I wouldn't care if we was doing it for a pair of tennis shoes. That's still not gonna change the fact that a cur you gonna call a cur a win. If I gonna make it and you don't make it, it's a draw. That's just 2 curs. That's what scratching means, what it means. You hold to the fact that don't no cur walk out the door winning nothing. It's not that to scratch the win ever mattered. I ain't never been in one where it mattered. Out of all the ones we had, and as much as I demanded, I can't tell you I won every flip, but I'm gonna tell you this, I won over 75 of them flips. And that's because some people took it that way. Not everybody they were cool. I'm with you, twin. I'm with you. And well, it's not even a problem because they don't know what I got. I mean, they think for them we here. I feel like ain't no two curves walking out of here tonight. You're right, bro. That's where you do it, and it's on. But understand, there's no reason why you shouldn't be able to feel like that about your yard back in the day, because this is how history has given us the greatness that we talk about, and the ones that we don't talk about. Mo, he's not going to let y'all forget about his peoples, because we didn't live we lived in the early 80s to the 90s and the early 2000s. You can't take that away from him. And we embedded in that era of life in that game, the early 80s. Yeah, we got to take a ride. That's why we pretty much know all them people. But when you talk about good dog men, it's more than just the ones in your neighborhood. Y'all talk about some of the ones that I've never heard before. Don't mean they wasn't a good dog man. Don't mean they wasn't in the fast lane. Remember, for everybody that I've ever met in the game, I can tell you this. The ones that always stood out ahead of everybody else, to where I could go on this side and they would know them, or go on this side and know them, or go over this person here and they would know them. And they would, oh, you know so-and-so? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Going to his yard about 3 weeks ago. When you having them kind of conversations with them, it brings your relationship with them, because they are going to use your relationship with that person to get over there for themselves. In reality, that's how that shit has always worked. It paid to know somebody, to know somebody, to know somebody. That's why these breeds and these fraternities got to the point to where the only ones that's going to be hated on anyway is the ones that's winning. And they are so cocky about what they winning with. They shouldn't have no problems getting they little funky off because you running your mouth. I hear a lot of people talking a whole bunch of shit about, oh, you so-and-so didn't do shit, you ducked me. But I've been out there and I've seen people, even our own situation, that would literally get right there and be there and be saying, y'all didn't tell me it was twins. You didn't tell me it was GSK. You didn't tell me the twins was going to be here. Why would it have mattered? So think about what I'm talking about, what I seen with Rastaman, and Kenny Allen, and all them people that was there to see the great tornado. We didn't know about what happened about the whole Lady Stone thing until, but I kind of knew, regardless of what was going to happen, McNasty and them just kind of blew it for everybody, because, with all that went on, it was just terrible. So it didn't get a chance to happen. But just think if it had got a chance to just happen based on all the people that I know that was there. Remember, Rastaman was there. He didn't know who I was because I was over here with the other team. The team that was rolling with you. But to be there and be able to sit there and then to be able to sit there and talk about it, and then to hear him laugh about what we had already seen, that's funny to me. But in the same token, as a fraternity dog man, Rastaman has some badass dogs. Schoolboy really did have some badass dogs. Come on, for that out west situation, how you gonna be talking about anything on the West Coast? First of all, without even knowing Schoolboy. Schoolboy was the key to all of everything out there on the West Coast. Again, for those who don't know, the man has books. I can always tell you, if you're going to get it from somebody, get it from a source. Somebody who went out and was so dedicated, and he hung out with these people. He did interviews. He took, recordings of their story. That's a whole new beast right there. A guy like him, that's a whole new beast. I'm out there. Oh, now take me. I'm out there kicking one of these guys. I ain't picked up a pen, a paper, a pencil, nothing. And out there had some of the best times all over, and then still had some bad ass bulldogs. You know what I mean? Where I feel like, you know, maybe one day, you know, and I know this is sometimes because the way people take it. But yeah, these people were so good that yeah, we wanted to be like them. And even though there was normal people, just like we was normal people, but these not weren't normal people in this bulldog fraternity. These people, they were how do I say it without, you know, making like kings and queens or anything? Just put it like this. They were very much respected to the point that where nobody gonna let you talk shit about them, even if they're not standing there. And if you choose to do that, then you know, who are you that you can't go climb over that wall with them? See, you know, we was them kind to be like, well, look here, what you got? You know, we were so to the point that we got a chance to see how I feel to where we had to tell people, stop telling them who it is. Don't tell them. Don't tell them. You know, but look at the shit like the Abrahams used to pop up on certain things. Eminem would just pop up on certain things. All they looking at is, you know, and then it didn't start with them. You look at some of the greatest matches, people had no idea who was coming. All they knew was, you know, so-and-so bringing up 36. I think it's so-and-so. I don't know, but I think it's so-and-so. You won't know it to that day. Well, you ain't got nobody to tell. No, they keeping it kind of secret, so I don't really know who they bringing. You already know they got a yard full of shit. But that time they did something like that, it was a such and such, such and such. Well, what would you do? I'm doing, you know, 36 of males. And are you okay? Yeah, I think it might be so-and-so. You know, them kind of conversations get around. And the funny thing about it is, you hear these kind of conversations, you become a part of these conversations, then you be wondering, you know, how people be getting busted. When in the reality of it, man, you would have to actually live it to understand that for the things that in the cookouts and the things that I have been and I have seen, you know, it is funny to me that the risk that we was taking, the fun that we was having, and I say this the fun because take the dogs out of it, just meeting new people who open their doors and, you know, you always talking about things that you had in common. You're hanging out with they family at they spot. That's a person that becomes more than just a friend. You know how many times I open my doors to people. You know, you're not just, you know, a person that came by and said hi. You know, you're a person that came to my house and we broke bread together, and you get just a little bit more respect from me, being that I know you compared to somebody I have to start over and meet them. Not everybody could, you know, they made it that far. And as people and as dogmen, you know, they became very leery of who you was letting on the yard because of the trash Dashians, and I call them that, trash Dashians. You know, they want to be all that they're gonna go take your shit because they can't get out there and make their own shit. And I always felt that part of the game over the years. And remember, look at all the stolen dogs down through history, man. Come on, man. Hold on. Think about the fact that they had the nerve to talk about it. That's all I'm saying. That you would actually steal from somebody and a damn dog. A thief. And when you got the thieves hanging around, you got the murderers hanging around, and you got drug dealers and gangsters. Them people I named, they was just a part of the fraternity because I just knew doctors, lawyers, sports figures, all kinds. But out of all that, y'all, let me tell you what they had in common. The ones that was worthy of talking about. The yard. What they was actually feeding on the yard. And the only ones that history has given you to where you can't help but respect it is their dogs. See, I want to get y'all in the mind frame and get you ready for what I know Mo got to sit down and he's going to share with you, because I'm a true believer in that it was the whole all about the process, but in the end, the part that he actually dealt with, I can't help but take my hat off to him and my KP. Because if it don't be for what they were doing and the people that they did it with, look at all the people who had Going Hard dogs out here. Look at all the places we had people. I know for sure it was one that came all the way from China. I think it was China or Japan. Flew in, bought him a dog, and flew it back on a plane. Now, I didn't even know if it was his plane because we didn't even have to pick him up at the airport. He came straight to the farm. So it's them kind of things, man. When we sit here and tell y'all the stories and giving, and Mo, we talk about these pedigrees, and I see, Mo's passion is because he gonna tell you his story, but his story is based off other people's stories and other people's relationship with him throughout these stories. Because he, for him, he can tell it because he lived it. He knew a little bit more, and he kind of got inside people's heads, and he's trying to share y'all that if I'm trying to be like them, and he's right, we will never be bigger than them because they've been doing it twice as long as we have. Even things that we might have started in the 80s, there was guys doing this in the 60s and the 70s and further back than that. It was some that had, they doing it because their daddy did it. Or their uncle did it. I mean, y'all look at what I'm talking about. I'm talking about the American Pit Bull Terrier. You ain't going to, this conversation is not meant for everybody unless you just want to hear some history. But I'm going to give you reality. While y'all here, not everybody probably was able to do what we did only because they didn't have the means to be able to get into that part of the game. Because that part of the game, to do it the way we were doing it, you had to be, how do I say it? You had to make your dogs your business. Remember, we were already training other dogs, but when I say make the dogs your business, the dog game became a business simply because of the people that we were dealing with, even though we was friends and everything. But what kept us out of bad situations was we handled our business like men were supposed to handle their business. And how do I have known that? Because the men that I talk about always handled their business. And because of them handling their business, I learned and I watched. See, Mo is more about watching, learning the papers and getting inside and being from the dog man's perspective of why you say that dog was good. So he can get their point on it. Me, I'm the one that sits back and look at the person as fuck them dogs. You might be one of them trash dashers. You might be one of them suck asses. You might be one of them ones, Mo, he played a little nice game and everything. But then again, I'm not one to be watching them and be like, go ahead, fuck it up. Go ahead, just fuck it up. That type of guy. And maybe, and that combination opened a lot of doors because, you know, Mo he's always going to tell you, I don't know shit about them dogs. Yeah, I do. Been around too damn long. Just found that why would I be trying to get in deep like you, and you got that part handled. I had no problem with dealing with this shit over here. You know, Mike crazy. Mike licking on the damn dog. Hold on, Mike. You know, when Mo heard me doing that, right? Now there had to be a reason why, you know, at this point to where if I felt a certain type of way about a person, you know, and just knew that I felt that if somebody was going to do something, you know, I'm going to do what it takes to protect our investment and our dog. So a lot of the guys, they kind of look like, you know, shit, Twin serious as hell. He's serious as hell. The other person be like, man, I can't even believe you trying to do me like that. What's wrong with you, boy? And I used to be, I look them with a straight face, and they would understand why, you know, when Mo tell them, you know, don't mess with Mike. Mike crazy. Because they right. I felt a certain type of way about you that I didn't trust. And if you so eager that you seem like you want to be this, that you would try everything. But we ain't really that stupid. So I got to get on there, and while you washing and everything, hell yeah. I know what milk tastes like. I know what milk tastes like. And I know exactly where you already going, my brother. So if you're going to try to do anything or rub in anything, I know the spots you're going to hang out at. Because remember, it was my responsibility from the time I got out that washer, how that dog came from that wash, and I had to make it all the way up to that pit and climb over that wall. I'm on top of everything. Your clothing, the towel that we wrap him in from that point right there, you know, I'm right there. We don't take no stops. We go right to I'm going to be feeling very comfortable when you climb over that wall. But see, fellas, where do you think I got that from? I didn't make that up. I told you I was learning from the best of the best when it came to duos. They both had their own way about doing things. And that's the Abrahams, Mr. T, and McNasty as brothers. You know, real brothers who had their job and responsibility, and they're very, very well known to this day. Known for the dogs more than anything. Yeah, they had troubles, you know, back in the day, you know, in order to be able to do the things they're doing, I don't get in people's personal lives. You know, what you did over there, you know, hey, you know, it's not that you don't care, but then, you know, I'm over here dealing with dogs. I have no idea that you're doing anything other than that. And you know why? Because it ain't my business. We ain't rolling like that anyway. You know, and think about when the ABC boys fell up on top of that mountain up there with Ricky Jones. And to even think after all these years and think about that whole 3-day process that they actually sat there and watched all the people. Everybody was up there for them 3 days, and some great things went on them 3 nights. To know that when we left out of there that Sunday night, that Monday morning, they came down, and the great Ricky Jones, you know, and I say the great Ricky Jones because if Ricky had not have done what he done, he would have still been the great Ricky Jones. Can't take nothing away from his accomplishments. The man was a badass bulldog man, period. But on his personal end, you know, I don't have to say nothing. Y'all know the story. I'm just talking about the bulldog man. But look at the story. I mean, hell, he's not the only one. But with all that to say, man, you cannot hate on their yards. You know, Ricky had a badass yard, man. Come on, man. McNasty, he had a badass yard. Him and Mr. T, you can't knock him for what it, you know, nothing when it came to them dogs, man. Joe and Nate, that's a combination. So when I say that, y'all don't know them people personally, but I hope y'all see, you know, when we talk about them, you see a little bit of each one of them and the way we do what we do when it comes to these dogs. Okay, and that's just showing y'all how it's supposed to be when you're working with your people. When you're working with your people, you're supposed to be able to trust the people around you because you're dealing with American Pit Bull Terriers. You got to be able to trust the people and the damn dog. But look at the responsibility I keep talking about, y'all, because I'm always keep bringing you back. Why are we still talking about the people and the dog, Mike? Because between them people and the dog, the thing that was most important than anything was the yard. What kind of dog do you have on the yard? The accomplishments it takes to talk about your yard with accomplishments. Just don't have nothing to do with who better than who. One thing about this American Pit Bull Terrier fraternity talk only got you so far. It was about the business. The business is what made the greatness. The greatness is what made you. The dog did all the work, but the dog wouldn't be able to do that without you. So why don't we, you know, pass that love and give them their roses? You know, I'm big shout out to Nate, Abraham, Mr. T, and McNasty, Big Thicket, Johnny Davis, Tony Rogers, Kenny Allen, you know, Bulldog people. Some of y'all might know who them people is. Some of y'all might not. But for you newbies who don't know, just remember them names and let me go see if you find out and you'll see how and why we respect these people. You'll see, as a man of the fraternity, you can't help but respect them in this community because they just happen to be part of the history of these dogs. I don't knock no man who wants to be that guy, regardless of how you do it, as these history of these dogs move forward. But in order for us to be sitting here talking about what I'm saying, don't be mad when Mo come in here and he sits down and he gonna show you that our dog is no different than these dogs right here. Now he sounds like, man, like they be hating on me because like, we don't breed nothing but champions and champions. They talk each other that shit. You know, they ain't never done shit. Oh, you right, Mo. Do they be paying attention? Do they see what I'm telling them? You're right, Mo. You know what I mean? That's what Mo was like, well, what is it the way I'm saying it? I said, no, Mo, because you can only say it the way it is. It just come off wrong because some people just don't know really what you're talking about. You see, I try to soften that for him. I try to soften that for my audience. Because he's going to talk like the average dog man going to talk when it come down to his yard. He created it. He did it. You talk that shit, but you ain't one of them opponents that ever climbed over them walls when I was around. I was running around with the best. I never worried about what you was climbing over that wall with, but we had a whole lot of people worried about what we was climbing over that wall with. But then we was running with them kind of people. See, That might sound cocky to other people, but only because you don't know what it feels like to run around with those type of people. Well, guess what? At one time, we didn't either. But if it don't be for the yard, you know how we're going to talk about the yard, because Mo's going to tell you what was on the yard and what was on other people's yards. And whether it be Red Boy or all that other stuff, see, that ain't what Mo be on, y'all. So just, it's about, you can't change nothing back there. And everything back here, at least one thing it always has in its favor, it's going to have results. It's going to have that thing that mattered when it came down to the real dog men that we ran with, the ones that we call mentors, the ones that consisted of the fast lane. Why we can talk about them and can't talk about you. That's the difference when you've actually done it. That's not bragging. That's not sticking your chest out and make you better than anybody. But what it is a fact. He was a bad thing, you know, they just had some badass dogs. That's a fact. I ain't do no more than what they did. That's the history of the growth of the American Pit Bull Terrier. From my standpoint, my brother's standpoint, you know, Rastaman talks about his own story. But if you take Rastaman, my man, Mr. Garcia, Schoolboy, Ram, because Ram and Schoolboy, they have a lot in common because they're out on that West Coast. You know, I always laugh at Ram simply because, you know, Ram, you was doing a lot out of there, fam. You know what I mean? Came up, you know, remember I knew Ram when he was real young. But to be in that Bulldogs and be able to be a part of it, the dogs that ran, come through his hands, he has his own story, you know. But in the community that you're in, that makes you come and watch this show, it's important that you understand that we over here, we dealt with game American Pit Bull Terriers. The people that we talk about, they dealt with game American Pit Bull Terriers. We try to give you a small insight of why we have so much regards to this game based on the people who created and helped mold the direction of some of these great dogs, great breedings of the game American Pit Bull Terrier. That matters. It matters a lot. But the yard is where it starts at. Now, who and what you put on the yard, history takes care of that, gentlemen. That's why we can only talk about the history. And it's no reason to hate on another person's history. Because whether you hate on it, some might like it, some, you know, might not. But the fact is, there's nothing you can do about it when it's already etched in stone. Whether they lied on papers, you know what I mean, or however people did things. The fact is, did the papers really matter when it came down to what the dog did? Hell no. The dog don't know y'all have all that confusion. Just why can't you just give the dog its props? Well, so-and-so said it was bred like this. Well, guess what? We've had that even in our own camp. You know, but the fact is, would it matter if the dog wasn't shit? Really? No. Because whenever there was controversy, you always have to use your own head and come up with your own decision and take your own look and skills and then make the proper decision based on how you handle situations, only because you know, based on your experience, you know, you have to make them calls sometimes. I've been, a part of having a dog stolen or having a couple dogs stolen all at one time when they actually hit the yard out there. To actually just get to a point you actually catch them on the yard, and then been through all that, man. But the thing I want to talk about, we doing all this for what kind of yard? That's what I'm trying to say. Twin, y'all doing all that for some bullshit? Well, no, that's not true. That's the whole point of, I've seen the hater things. I've seen all the troll shit. That shit been around before we had YouTube. But with even the shit that they was doing and saying even back then, the conclusion always boiled down to, the yard. Because you wouldn't have nothing to say unless, you hate. And if you feel like you want to hate, you can always find yourself on that other corner. And most of the time, I'm always telling Mo, I don't be nice to people until after the fact. Because, some people take losing, and don't know how to act, or get upset. Well, until we get beyond that, I'm always looking at you to be that person who ain't gonna like what's gonna happen to you and think you're gonna get upset. Remember that time, I'm telling you about when, twin, you got to do that. Yeah. You think of me like that? Yeah. Yeah. Because, I know you ain't got shit. I know you ain't got shit. You know what I mean? And that might hurt a person's, mental. But one thing I don't have to do is worry about if he rubbed or not, because I checked already. Care you get mad, I have the right to do what I want. This is what I do. You feel a certain type of way, you get over it. But see, them type of people, you got to play them all the way to the end after you got in here and got your ass whooped and everything. And you got to take it like a man. Because my brother has always been that guy that would pick up the dog and put his hand out to shake your hand. He never, ever was one. And ain't nobody who ever was around us, none of our mentors, none of them would ever tell you that we was some kind of, crazy type, throw it all in your face. He was really like that guy that shake your hand. Even the dude that backdoored us for that cycle thing, he didn't ride, he rode there with us, but he didn't ride back with us because he would have had one hell of a ride. Ben, I know that you went in there and you was been sitting in the car this whole time and you was on this thing right here. And then when it's all said and done, you'd be like, man, I can't believe y'all won. What you mean, and then to know it was the gator dog, the more went got for him. Man, you don't know how that feels when somebody you have, you cool with and they riding right next to you, and then it comes out just because the person over there with the dog don't mean that because that's a different person and we don't know that dog. Now I'm telling Mo, look, oh boy, he with them. What? Yeah, they with them. They're on some shit. They're on some shit, Mo. And for it to turn out the way it turned out, it was kind of like dude knew to keep everything. But even because of that, it came down to the bulldog, and we really did have the better bulldog. So the yard for us put a lot of stamps on a lot of dogs that I can truly say, do we have a family of dogs or do we have a line of dogs? For me, a going hard dog is a going hard dog, and most going hard dogs, they're going to look alike. Most going hard dogs, they're going to have a certain style. And over the years, yeah, things change because people have their other way of dealing with things, the way they deal with things. But after 30-something plus years, don't mean that we have to get away to think like other people think. Our thing is to get more people to think like we was thinking. Why would we change after all these years and try to think another way? So to my younger people, if I say that, I'm going to say that one more time. If I've been doing something 30 years, because my job, if ever dealing with bulldogs, it would always be the same job. Like riding the bike. Our KP and Mo, they too old to change. Like old, they say you can't teach old dogs new tricks. But you'll be amazed what them tricks that old dogs can show you. Yeah, we kind of in it from that era. You know, because it's always when you dealing with your yard, people can have all the opinions in the world, but one thing you cannot change, and that's the facts. And for that one moment, when you climbed over that wall, and you stood over there and you took that chance, in the end, it was a fact that dog wasn't shit. I'm not going to tell you that, but that's a fact. That's why I was never one to be talking shit to nobody. 20 y'all got down there, I don't fire back like that. I was like, Mo, give me some weights. And I wanted to battle, no, we knew enough people. It didn't even matter because we wasn't no weight. We couldn't carry because we knew too many people. We're running around, like you said, 90%ers. Mo was known for how to condition the dog. He was known in the game that Mo, when he bought one, it was going to be right. It was just that 317 it was no other dog over a long time that was tested like that. He was put to the test and he performed and he scratched like he started scratching. See, Mo have always known, our shit might have been over quick. We had nothing but destroyers, but the fact is, all you need to do is just have something who can just withstand this massacre. The fact is, when I actually had to come down to see just how good his keep was, it showed at 317. Them 20s and 30s minutes of that's just straight out barnstorming, him going nuts, sending money in there. Why are you doing that? You're doing it too hard. You're moving too fast. Slow down, son. He got this. Mo don't be hearing shit. Unless I say that, Mo ain't hearing shit. He on full go. Why? Because he know his yard. He raised it. He fed it. He cleaned the shit up. He studied it. He planned it. This is showtime. Whoa! Hey, man, I'm going to turn this over to Mo and let him tell you why they called him Showtime. Appreciate everybody for showing up. Hey, fellas, don't forget to hit that like button. Let me see you out here. Man, this chat done got way behind on me, man. I mean, it really did. And then everything, y'all know, I don't know how many people noticed that StreamYard was down yesterday, and I'm trying to learn this thing, getting ready for the show, and man, it fell apart. I mean, right there at the last moment, I just got in, and it's just not like my other one. I didn't want to go at the other one. I like this thing right here. I'm trying to, I want to share the link because I want you guys to come in and talk to me about your experience, because everybody's experience is not the same. Big shout out to my man, the Mad Doctor, Supreme. Excellent. I see you, fam. And I ain't trying to be like, keep y'all out here all night, but what I am really trying to do, because this subject right here is a very, special subject to me, because I'm just being honest with y'all. Can't everybody be a dog man? Big shout out to Mr. William McNeil, my man. What up, fam? Big shout out to Woody Wood. I see you, fam. But everybody's not meant to do this. And I sit back and I watch a lot of the guys. So big shout out to my man, Double M Desbo. Bite down and shake that like button. And you know, I'm with Mo when he be telling y'all, man, he be dead serious. And I be trying to slow down and make it a more of a, I'm trying to, you know, help him find his way to where he don't have to worry about this no more. You know, as far as, do you feel comfortable? Do you feel like you've said it all? And he never feels like you've said it all. And until he does, I'm going to help him with his passion. Big shout out to my man, Tony Montana. What up, fam? Ain't seen you in a while, but appreciate you having your back, fam. But I want everybody to get, you know, to be able to hit that link and call in and come check it out, because it's not always about what we do and what we say and how we say it. We want to tell you from our experience, and many people have their own experience. But keeping it A1 from day one up in here. I see you, fam. That was right on time. What? Big shout out to my man Chico Nicholas. What up, fam? Oatman, what up, fam? I'm just catching up down this list. But, you know, the history has a whole lot to do with it. But, man, ain't nothing like the person and the yard. Because without the person in the yard, we wouldn't have a history. And without a history, there's no reason to have these dogs. Big shout out to my man, Mr. Burning Star. I see you, fam. Yo, Biker Royal family showing the love. Appreciate the love, fam. Let me see. Now, y'all got to bear with me, because, you know, Mo gonna walk in here and he don't know nothing about doing nothing. Genetics. Showing that love. I see you, fam. So, and I don't be in, because, you know, we are in these summer months, and, you know, shit is like it is. Windmill, chest to chest, baby, camp to camp. Yeah. Act like you know. Look, don't even stick your chest out there if you can't handle the bomb. Oh, you don't like what? You don't like that? Well, go get it down. What you got? Mr. O in the house, what up? Bam! Who we got here? But yeah, man, I need y'all to, at least some of y'all, somebody out there, say something. I know everybody is not a rookie to this game. Everybody's not dumbfounded of how bad just being in this game and having the right kind of dog that you even worthy of even speaking on. That I got Red Boy, I got dogs off race. So, I mean, shit. Robin Man, I see you. Marcel Shepard, what up, fam? Dark Society, Kennels in the Hills. What up, fam? No, I'm just trying to put it out there. All that shit don't be meaning nothing. Talk ain't never settled nothing. It's always in this game, it was action. I'm trying to see this. I just seen something. Mr. Marcel Shepard, what up, fam? I see you. My man, the Mad Doctor. Let me see what he got to say here. Appreciate that, Mad Doctor, but I'm trying to get down to this. This was important to say. Well, damn. Lost. We took Champion Chucky after he made champion. Lost. Mr. Friendly and Mr. Bumpy lost. Little Man Jeep lost. Iron Man one time winner, True Colors lost. But more wins. Mad Doctor. Now you know. You can't have a win without another person over there across from you, putting it to the test. Who this? This man, who? Pride Bar Jack. Hold on, man. Hey, I don't know. Did I put the link out there? Y'all tell me. Did the link show up out there? I know I put up the link. The Mad Doctor, I see you, fam. Like I said, I feel you on that. You know, you represent a different type of, you from the old school type of situation. You know what I mean? You know what this look like. Not streaming, I'm looking without checking streaming. I get to discount. I'm trying to see is, I don't want the referral link. I want the link to the show. Hold on. I want y'all to come up in here. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this. Just give me, I'm learning this too. So feel me, Let me see. Did that link show up though? Let me see. That don't look like the whole link to it. Let me see that. I know, man, this thing sitting here just running. Control C. Control V. All right. I'm going to try that. Y'all hit that link. I know that's a new link or something, ain't it? And see if that link can bring you in. I gotta check this out. All right. I'm back here. All right, did the link show up, y'all? Give me a thumbs up, give me something. I don't know if the link showed up. Let me see. Let me see. I think that's the link right there. Yes. Look, fellas. It is 11:30. I wanted to get Mo in here, but you know, I feel Mo's pain. You know, I feel his pain. He feel like I done said enough. And I feel him on that. Let me see. Show comments on stage 1. Start is live. That's why that's still showing up there. Mr. J Rock, what up, man? Appreciate that love, fam. Appreciate that love coming through with the 10-piece. You know, it's not a matter of how much you give, man. It's all just the fact that you give. It's all going to be appreciated when careful with 99 cents. But J Rock, you be always showing up that love, fam. Long-time supporter. You know, them things do matter. But I don't want to press Mo to run up in here at all. I put that little referral thing out there because it was the wrong link. Y'all got to, let me slide with that one. But before I close this thing out, because I don't even know how that part worked, because I didn't, I ran in here and I didn't get a chance yesterday because StreamYard was down to, get associated with it. But being that y'all here, let me tell y'all, the link to the key to our, I'm trying to put up this, I think this email address right here. Let me show y'all this. Get that up there right quick. Get this one up here. Yeah. Get up here, take care of this. Back to comments. I'm trying to find. Now, I don't know if the link showed up out there, but I don't see nobody hitting it. But look, Tuesday show, be prepared. I want y'all to, again, the only reason I'm on here because I'm looking for participation and, from the chat, because again, I feel Mo. He said, he wanted to start getting other people's views because, this is like people like Chico Nicholas out there in the house, pit bulls and prospecting. These people know, these are longtime supporters of the channel. Y'all probably see each other around, but good bulldogging is good bulldogging, but there's nothing like bulldogging and have something to, appreciate the effort and the time and your heart and soul into an American Pit Bull Terrier that who knows that maybe one day your bloodline, your work will show up not for the same purpose as ours has, but for a whole new purpose. That is what's important because it's always going to be the preservation of the American Pit Bull Terrier. the yard, you know, I put a lot of emphasis on a lot of people's yards, not a lot of people's personalities, but their yards. Didn't talk about a dog or nobody's yard, because I'm talking about the person and the responsibility that came with their yard, because I wouldn't be able to talk about that person if they wasn't worth talking about. Because everybody can have a yard. Not everybody can have a yard that history shows that it was a well-respected yard. That, you know, history takes care of your story long after you gone. Big Thicket, McNasty, Mr. T, Nate, James Pope, James Powell, Benny Robert Blackwell, AKA Boss Choke, Going Hard Boss Choke, you know, and that list goes on. And one day, fellas, me and my brother gonna be on that list. You know, but the thing is, I learned from them guys because I still talk about them. And I talk about them as I'm glad I knew them. I'm glad that I can say in my lifetime that I had the opportunity to share something that not everybody ever had a chance to share. That's important. I mean, what are the reasons when we talk about these bulldogs? We ain't selling no damn puppies. We ain't selling nobody nothing, but what we doing, we giving back our way to something that meant a lot to us. And that is the American Pit Bull Terrier, the game American Pit Bull Terrier. And these people had yards. You know? So don't let the talk, you know, overshadow the fact that, you know, the real is always going to be shown. And how they show it does not matter. Whether chasing down a hog or running up a tree or running a damn treadmill, we all had a different purpose. But my thing is, regardless of what that purpose is, don't get this confused over here. We're not hating on nobody and what y'all do, but let's just look at the facts. The fact is, it is an American Pit Bull Terrier, and you got a yard full, or you got a couple. Some of us did things that, you know, history had provided us because that was the love of the game. Don't mean put your foot on y'all to get y'all to do it, but what it does do, the animal don't care what it is, because if it is about that life, it's going to be about that life. I wouldn't give a damn. Hog hunting, running up that wheel, if you got one, he going to make a name for you. So go be the greatest wall climbing, everything in the world. But before I get ahead of myself, let me take you back to the yard. Let me take you back and let me just check and see what you got on the yard. Because for us and everybody else that I knew, that's where it started at. Because if it wasn't for that, you know, all of them had that one thing in common. Man, I ain't feeding that bullshit. You know what I mean? That's the all-time saying of the whole, you know, perspective of the dog game, man. You think you ain't feeding that bullshit, but in true reality, until you do whatever you're gonna do, yeah, you are. Because you're just too scared to go tell, you know, find out. That's all. But don't worry about it. You long as you stay that, and you know. But then those aren't the people that we wind up talking about based on the history of this game. So take it, check the yard, understand we got enough videos out here when we talk about the yard. I'm always the one to talk about what's on the yard. I'm talking about the people who make up the yard, because the yard didn't make itself. Somebody had to know what they were doing to make the yard. Was it a family of bulldogs? You know, was a line of bulldogs. I don't think we actually, had a line. I just think because we had so many other dogs. But I know based on our dogs, I felt comfortable saying that we had a family of bulldogs. They fought a certain type of way, did it a certain type of way, and they became our family of bulldogs. And that family took care of their business like they were supposed to, like family. So, yeah, that's a good thing. To just be able to have and share that experience with you. But it's so many other guys that I know I've heard Mo talk to over the years that have been amazing, and they were actually responsible for the dogs, the Going Hard dogs, to even continue. That we can even stop and pull them up and talk about them, because if, like, it kind of make you feel like Victor with Mayday. Other people took his shit and went out there and made the dog famous. Made him, to me, famous. I wouldn't say he was the greatest pit bull dog of all time, but I could put him on the Mount Rushmore of. I think it's only 5 spots up on that Mount Rushmore, and he would definitely be part of it. But then for me, that, there's a certain standard to meet that criteria for me. So, not just because I ran Mayday shit. No, I had nothing to do with that. I have more respect for the man who had Mayday than I had for anything else that Mayday did after the fact. Because you got to read Victor's story. Victor's story is just like what I was just saying, but without having to, I don't want to be telling the man's story because it's been said so many times. I hired that black pass and all that crazy shit after all them years getting his ass whooped and all that shit, that he was determined that he had to walk away from that bullshit and happen to pull up on this bullshit, and this is what I'm rocking with. And to know he decided to rock with that and then see how that shit was rocking, and then to call Mo and have the relationship that Mo had with this man. Man, I need you to get these guys to start showing my dog some love and everything. Ain't nobody get me, to know that you're a part of that story of a man who had a yard. And I'm trying to tell you, don't think it was just about Mayday when you got Choice, Dragon Lady. I can't think of the other one. It was Choice, Dragon Lady. I know Annabelle, and there might have been Hannah, but I know his sisters was just as bad as he was. But that was over there in one man's hands. So that's the kind of greatness that I be looking at and be, y'all don't know what we know because nobody know. Y'all don't know Victor. Y'all don't know Angel. You might not know the Latin boys. You don't know Tony. You don't know Jesse. You don't know a lot of things. I would think that you would love to sit down and we don't talk about them, but we talk about their yards. I don't care about them as people. I mean, what they did in their personal life, because we never had a personal relationship with you. But I can sit there and tell you about in their dog life and to have the success that each and one of these people had. There's no doubt that we was going to achieve it. We just didn't get a chance to take it to their level due to, how them people is. We were just victims of the ones who lost a whole bunch of good dogs. Sad, but it's true. But that part takes you all the way back to what the show was really meant to be about. The yard. What is your feeding? How important is the yard? I didn't talk about a damn dog. I talked about the man who had to create the yard and gave you examples of all these men, how this changed over time, all the things that when you're into this, that you're going to see, all the things you're going to learn. Take some of this and make it work for you and just enjoy this ride, at least for now. Because like everybody else, the way you're ever going to find out is stop talking about it and be about it. And I don't care what and how you do it. But it's when you've already been about it, is why we talk about the men that we talk about when we talk about their history. Because they have something to talk about. That's what matters. That's what I'm preaching. That's why I'm going to end this thing tonight. But you know, the bad thing about this thing, I don't know how to do that part like I want to do it. But like I said, they kind of got me last night when they stopped working on me. When they stopped working on me, that kind of took me for a split. Let me see. I'm going to try this right here just to see if I can get out on this situation, because I want to end this my way. Oh, it would not let me do it. Okay, hold on. Hold on. I'm getting some movement here. All right. Now, am I this the one I can edit? This would be nice if I could do this way. Yeah, but hey, I appreciate everybody for showing up. That's the most important thing. Hey, y'all might as well get ready and just start hitting these links. You know, because I keep saying that the communication part, yeah, I'm learning something new. All right, take the good with the bad. I thought I seen Murk Dog in here. Big Murk Dog, I see you. What up, fam? It just didn't kind of come on. Yeah, that's trying to come on. I'm not trying to do it. That I ain't trying to hear that. But yeah, I seen you, fam. I'm trying to look for while I'm doing this. I need y'all to do me some favors. To all my Bulldogs representing all over. And I don't know where all y'all from, but show some love, man. Give me some thumbs up to all my real Bulldog men out there. To all my Bulldoggers. Look, you know what I mean? My man, right now, Sparks. Appreciate that, fam. Back on deck, baby. Back on deck. Yes, sir. But look, man, I mean, if you got a yard, if you don't have a yard, if you just in this for entertainment, whatever it is that has you, infatuated with this great game, American Pit Bull Terrier, you're part of a fraternity. It will last until the end of time. And I say that to the end of time because I don't know what it is. And I know I've seen a lot of good dog men who died through this thing called time. And I'm so close that I might go out and these dogs still gonna be here. But guess what? I'm leaving my mark. And I hope my mark is enough that when 20 years from now, I hope this chat be here. And I want the whole lot of like my man Fort Lauderdale D. What up, fam? Another one of them great ones out here to hang out in this damn Shark Tank, and y'all don't even know it. This is what I want all my real Bulldoggers out there who feel me know where I'm coming from. You don't have to get up in here to tell your story. I'm going to tell it for you. Show me some love and give me some thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up, thumbs up. Muscles, muscles, muscles. Now for the yard. Give some damn roses. Roses. We need damn roses. Show the love. What y'all waiting on? Do what you do. Come on now. I hear you. Yeah. Hey, man, show that love. Show that love. Show that love. Hey, man. So until we see each other again, you know, I'll be wanting to go out with this story thing, but I haven't had a chance to see how this thing works. You know, and this is something real, like I said, this is something totally new to me. And I noticed that when I go live, you know, I got to go back and hit my monetization thing because this is a whole new different format for me. So again, y'all forgive me while I do this. But one thing for sure, always and for certain, that when it comes down to going hard, and I'm talking about the going hard fraternity, the Shark Tank, my people all across the world, them real bulldoggers, you know what I'm saying? In order to be worthy of even being talked about, first thing you're gonna have to understand, and if your dog gonna be like you, then let's do the old going hard model. You better always, and you better make damn sure when you feeding on that damn yard with your ass, you better make sure your animals will always scratch the wind. That's what I'm saying. That's where I'm coming from. That's the only way they make it back home, fam. And sorry it is to say, it's okay. You win some, you lose some. Y'all enjoy y'all weekends, man. Stay real, stay true, stay true. Mad Doctor, J Rock 735. Man, I just want to go through the list. All my people in the Shark Tank keeping it real with you, man. I'm gonna get this thing right here. You know, I'm going to sit down here and I'm gonna make this thing work. But I really want participation. I want my people. You know, people keep telling me, you know, the people can't jump up and have something to say. But I know my this Shark Tank, and I know I have put up and got a format to where I'm trying to make it easy because I'm really trying to be on the way out. And I want some of the people that I know that's in this Shark Tank to share their experience. I mean, y'all be out there everywhere else, but what's the reality of this? Ain't nobody out here doing what we're doing. Wait a minute. Now I'm getting cocky. Shit. I bet you we can get up here and show you our shit. I bet you the shit that I got damn talk, I got some damn receipts. I bet you I can tell you some shit that y'all wish you could ever seen it done. But it ain't all about that, fellas. It's all about why you're here. Because mine, you know, what I'm thinking you're here because you're either a part of the fraternity and you just want to get that feeling for some people who you know what I'm talking about. You know what I'm talking about. Compared to the ones who just want to sit back there and just listen and learn. Before all my bulldoggers out there, we ain't doing nothing no more. Ain't nothing wrong with showing your love. Ain't nothing wrong with showing your experience. Because that's what they need to know, because they can't never do what we was doing. Not to that degree. It ain't safe. So we have to appreciate their future. But we cannot never let them forget their past. I'm out of here. Till Tuesday. Peace. 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 Oh my gosh, you won't let me do that? Not yet.